Mary Holm joins me in studio. Hi, Mary.
Hi, Charlotte.
Always nice to have you here.
Thank you. I might have to go to the Springsteen concert. I'm a bit of a fan.
Oh, same. I've seen him before. And to be honest, there's no facts, but I have just been watching his touring schedule, and I know that he's coming over this side of the world.
Yeah, he's brilliant in person. Yeah, brilliant.
So brilliant.
Yeah,
We've been talking a lot about saving money today and ways to save money. And your topic today is about personal finance, or it comes from research from the FMA, the Financial Markets Authority. What's that?
The Financial Markets Authority, they regulate a whole lot of... I used to be on their board, actually, when they first started, and I think it was 2011. They regulate a whole lot of financial institutions, really, in New Zealand. They brought in because there was a need for more control over... financial advisors and finance companies and all sorts of companies.
So huge, very important. Are they funded by the government?
Yes.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
So tell me about what you're going to talk about today.
Well, they did some research about it. It was released about a year ago, but I was just looking through it the other day and I was a wee bit shocked to see a survey found that only a third of New Zealanders know what to do if they're treated unfairly by a financial service provider. And I thought, well, gosh, I know what to do. I've actually, there are 4 bodies in New Zealand that can help you if you have any problem with any kind of financial service. And so we're talking about banks, insurance companies, KiwiSaver providers, finance companies, financial advisors, mortgage advisors, stockbrokers, all of them. Any of them that provide any financial service of any sort to you, they have to be a member of one of the disputes resolution schemes, but only a third of New Zealanders know what to do if they have problems with a financial service provider, and that's what these dispute schemes are there to help people with.
What would disputes be? Would it be, say, if a mortgage advisor or a mortgage broker came in and suggested, yes, you should borrow that money, and then it doesn't work out? Or?
It varies. If they've acted in a way that is dishonourable, shall we say, that's going it's what they cover and what they don't cover is a little bit tricky to define, but if they've misled you or given you inappropriate advice that's really wrong for you, if there's debt recovery going on and they're treating you really unfairly, if your insurance claim's been declined, if there's a breach of contract, it's generally if they treat you unfairly, it does not apply to their commercial decisions. If they've the fees they charge, or whether or not they decide to give you a mortgage, you can't complain to a disputes resolution scheme over that. They're free. The companies are free to make their own decisions about who is going to be their customer, etc. But or investment performance. If there was bad investment performance, you can't complain about that. But it's basically if you've been treated unfairly. If you feel like what's happened for you, and I don't want listeners to sweat too much over whether their problem would be covered or not. The point is they can ask, and they'll be told, yes, yours is covered or yours is not. And the service is free to you. You don't need a lawyer. You can do it yourself. You can get a friend to help you if you want, but you don't have to have a lawyer. And it takes typically a couple of months. It doesn't go on forever. It's all... I sort of say to people, why wouldn't you use this service? It's there for people to get their disputes resolved.
Oh, Mary, this is helpful because I never knew that there was the opportunity to make a complaint if something happened.
No.
Can you share an example?
I should just say up front, there's one of these 4 schemes does banking ombudsman scheme, which you might have heard of, and then the other 3 do everybody but banks. And I'm on the board I used to be on the board of the Banking Ombudsman Scheme actually some years ago, and I'm now on the board of Financial Services Complaints Limited, which is one of the ones that does non-banks. There are 3 that do non-banks. So I've got an axe to grind, if you will, because I hate the fact that people I talk to all the time don't know these schemes are there.
That's why you're wonderful, Mary, telling us.
So these schemes, the first thing you do is, if you've got a problem with somebody that's giving you some kind of financial service, you should go back to them first and say, hey, I don't like what you're doing. But you can go to the disputes resolution scheme and get help with how to approach the company if you're feeling intimidated by them or something like that. You can get help on how to approach them. Now you need to find out which scheme they're a member of. If they're a bank, it's easy. It's the Banking Ombudsman scheme. If they're not a bank, it should be on their website, or they should tell you if you ring them up and ask them. Or you can, if you just Google Disputes Resolution Scheme and the name of the company, it'll come up. The information is there to help people find which scheme to go to. And then you can contact the Disputes Resolution Scheme, and they will sort of take you step by step through the process. If you haven't, first of all, gone to the company itself and said, hey, this is not fair. Disputes, insurance disputes are quite common. And during COVID, when a whole lot of people's travel was cancelled, the disputes resolution schemes got flooded with people complaining about what their travel insurance didn't seem to be covering and whether or not that was fair, And so there's those sort of complaints. And in fact, somebody sent a text in today that was about an insurance claim problem, and they could go to the disputes resolution scheme and get help from them. Another text that somebody sent in to you a bit earlier.
Yes.
It was a guy who has got an investment and seems to be having trouble just getting basic information about how the investment's doing, etc. So he should go to that provider. Send them an email is not a bad way of doing it, because then you've got it in writing. Hey, I'm not happy. I want more information. I want immediate information. And if he's not happy with how they respond, then you go to their disputes resolution scheme, and they will talk to, first of all, they get your side of the story, they get their side of the story. They, quite often things get settled soon after that. The provider might start saying, gosh, yes, that wasn't really fair the way I treated that person, and they settle. But sometimes it goes right through to, there are quite a few lawyers in each of these schemes, so they're looking at the legal side of it and saying, this wasn't fair. And you might get monetary compensation, anything up to several $100,000 that people can get, although they rarely do get that much. But
it's worth it.
Yes.
Yeah, right.
And sometimes people are just happy with an apology. It's really interesting. They just want someone to say, no, that wasn't good treatment.
You're in the right, that was wrong. So who funds the financial dispute service?
Really good question. The money comes from the providers, the financial providers of the services. So the insurance companies, the banks, the advisors, the KiwiSaver providers, money comes from them. And that immediately you think, oh, I don't like this. Therefore, the decisions are going to be biased to their way, you see.
Of course.
But because they have to belong to one of the schemes. All these providers have to belong to one. They pay their fees. They pay extra if there's a complaint filed against them. And the disputes resolution schemes are fair. They honestly are. I mean, as I say, I've been on 2 boards for quite a lot of years now. If you had a complaint about a decision made by one of these schemes, there is a place you can go to get that heard. But they're there to be fair. And they will, if they don't give you an award or some money or something like that, they will explain why.
Yes.
Yeah.
Someone else has just messaged in, and this might connect to it too. If a bank doesn't tell you that you can get higher interest on another account, is that grounds for compensation?
Oh, no, I doubt it. I wouldn't think so. No, a company is not obliged to tell you how to use their products better. Not really. Any company, whether it be a bank or anybody else, that's up to you. The onus is on the
Cheeky
customer.
though. Recently I have rung the bank and, asked for
Yes.
tips, but they do seem quite restricted to tell us sometimes about the best deals.
Yeah, I, to be honest, don't know how often. I mean, there's no harm in asking a bank,
Yes.
can you give me the best deal? But if they probably wouldn't baldly lie to you, I suppose. I don't know.
No. I think it was you actually, Mary, that might have encouraged me, but I'm one of those classic people where my interest rates have just gone so high. I'm kind of like,
On a mortgage.
on my mortgage. What will be in the next 12 months? So I phoned the bank and I said, hey, this is my situation. Solo mum, blah, 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 blah.
Yes.
And I felt like they were quite restricted with what she could tell me. Like the call was obviously being recorded. And yeah, it was quite an interesting conversation.
Yeah, so in that situation, I would go to a mortgage advisor.
Ah, okay.
And tell them your situation, because they work with a whole lot of the different banks, and they can help you work out what's the best thing for you. It's a tricky one about how much a company should be obliged to tell you how to make more money for you and less for them.
That was exactly the point why I thought, she's not being too forward here. The text in before came from Kenneth, who's listening in Masterton, because the bank gave him wrong customer information on the helpline, and so he's been missing out on a lot of money or interest.
Yeah, no, if they gave him wrong information, that might be something that the Banking Ombudsman Scheme would listen to.
Yeah.
There's no harm in going on to their website, contacting them and asking them. There's a lot of things these schemes do look into. It's a pity to sort of dwell on what they don't.
Yes.
And it isn't all that easy to define, but all you need to do is find which scheme it is, and you should be able to do that pretty easily. There's actually a companies register that you can Google that will tell you, but you should be able to get that information very simply from the bank or advisor or whoever. Just say to them, who is your disputes resolution scheme? Yeah.
Mary, let's talk through the steps of the complaints process.
Yes.
So once you've found out, you've Googled who you're dealing with.
Yes. You get in touch with the scheme, the disputes resolution scheme, and they will ask you straight up, have you presented this problem to the financial service provider? And if you haven't, and you're feeling unsure about exactly how to do it, they will give you some help with that. But it does then have to go to the person that's done you wrong, and give them a chance to do it right.
To respond.
And quite often they do it right. But if you are not happy with how they resolved it, it's you who decide that, not them. You say, no, this is not good enough. Then you go back to the dispute scheme and say, no, I'm still unhappy about this. And they will start looking into your side of the story, get their side of the story. Quite often they'll hold conciliation meetings where they get you and them into the room, and they probably do it by Zoom, etc. too, I imagine. But and they'll be sort of monitoring that to make sure that things work okay.
So they almost do like a mediation.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, they quite often do a mediation. Yes, yeah. And in the end, if that can't, there's no agreement reached, then the head of the dispute scheme, in most cases they're an ombudsman, a financial ombudsman, will make a decision. And another really important point is, if you don't like the decision, you're free to say, no, I reject that, and go on to the disputes tribunal or to court. So you don't have to accept the decision, but the financial service provider does. When the decision's made, the advisor or the stockbroker or whoever you're unhappy with has got to go along with it. Yeah.
Mary Holm, this is so essential for us to know.
Yes, it is. It is.
I mean, I feel a bit naive that I'm in my coming up to mid-40s and I didn't know about this.
No, well, I mean, the FMA found that women and people with low savings and low financial confidence knew less than a third of them that knew. So most New Zealanders don't know about this. And I was thinking about it as I was driving, and it's telling you all this and about the process. Most of the people listening won't have a problem right now, and so you don't remember all that information. You think, oh yeah, okay, sometime I might need that. The point to remember is that it's there, it's free. You're not obliged to go along with the decision, and you don't have to have a lawyer. It's pretty nicely set up, so ordinary Kiwis can get fairness out of the system. And so if and when you do have a problem, go searching. If you just Google disputes resolution or whatever one of these words, unhappy with financial advisor, whatever. And by the way, just one more quick point.
Yes.
From one of the texts that came in. He was mentioning that the fees on some fund he was in, I think, were 2.9%. That is ridiculously high. I mean, if you have a look on KiwiSaver, the fees, the good providers charge less than 1%, and I can't see how people can justify a 2.9% fee on an investment product like that. Yeah.
Quick question before I let you go, Mary.
Yes.
If you're being overcharged by accountants, would that fall at all into this?
They don't cover accountants.
Oh, interesting.
But if you're an accountant or a lawyer or one of those professions like that, or an architect or an engineer, they all have their own association or society or whatever it's called that will take complaints from the public. And so if you Googled accountants' complaints or something, there'd be somewhere where they'd listen to your side, and they can strike them off, if a professional, if they're not behaving themselves. Yeah.
Mary Holm, once again, you've enlightened us and educated us so much. Thank you so much for your help.
Thanks, Charlotte.
And we'll see you again in a couple of
Yes.
weeks here on Afternoons.